Hey, what's up, guys? It's ex-Morgan from My Spiritual Life, and today we're going to be talking about doing more things badly. Today we're going to be talking about perfectionism again, because that's one of my favorite topics, and I'll tell you what, it's been a hot minute since I've hit you with a Morgan spiel on something, so here we go. I have always struggled with perfectionism, and with that, the way I would define it is like expecting too much and expecting too high quality from the too much that I'm doing. And I heard this quote a while back that has really changed my perspective and really allowed me to try to let go of some of my perfectionist tendencies. And that quote is, "If something is worth doing, it's worth doing poorly." Now, you may have heard a different version of this quote where it's, "If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right or worth doing well." And this quote is in exact contradiction of that. Now, I love this quote because it really wakes me up to the fact that some things are so important that it's actually better that you do them poorly than that you not do them at all. And as someone who grew up, struggled a lot with being a people pleaser, a perfectionist, I would tend to put things off. And I would put them off more if I viewed them as more important. And the reason that I would do that was because I was afraid of failing. Because I was afraid of failing, I would put things off because I didn't want to deal with a potential failure. And so this quote was really helpful for me because it kind of brought me back into this perspective of like, maybe I shouldn't have such high expectations that are stopping me from doing these important things in my life that I want to do. When you're struggling with perfectionist stuff, right, it's usually coming from a place of a damaged self-worth where you don't see the value in yourself, and so you're usually trying to prove your value through your actions, through your contributions, through getting a lot done. And what I've been working on, especially in the last couple years of my life, is trying to kind of deconstruct from that and to have healthier expectations from myself. And expectations are just so hard for a perfectionist because they really want to do it all and to do it all so well. So well that it will blow your mind. And it is something that for me just really ended up causing me so much pain and so much procrastination because my level of expectation was so high that it just wasn't reasonable. And it left me feeling like a failure pretty much most of the time because I couldn't ever really reach my really high expectations. Another problem this created for me was that I would kind of get in these modes where I was like, go, 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 I'm feeling good, like get a lot done. And I would end up overdoing it, and then I would burn myself out. And then I would have to take a long break from whatever it is that I was working on or trying to accomplish. That pattern didn't work for me very well. And so what has kind of changed me from that path, and that I'm still working on, is that to try to actually start to kind of pay attention to what my expectations are, because sometimes they're not even conscious. We don't even realize what we're really expecting of ourselves until we like sit down and look at it. So one thing that's been really helpful for me is when I'm feeling like a lot of stress and overwhelm and urgency around like trying to get things done, I usually sit down and like ask myself, okay, this thing that needs to get done, first of all, how urgent is this thing actually, right? And also, how important is it that this thing be done to a certain threshold of expectation? So, like, for example, if the dishes need to be done, well, do all the dishes need to be done? Can I just get some of the dishes done, to kind of keep us going? Like, or it could be like with my YouTube, like, okay, there's a video I really need to record. Is this video one that, needs a lot of my time and attention, or is it one that's a little bit easier for me? And, just asking yourself those questions like, how urgent is this thing, and how important is the expectation around, or how well does this thing actually need to be done? Because our default is probably going to be like trying to do everything with the highest expectation being met. And that is just impossible. We're too exhausted. There's too little time and too little energy to effectively live that way. You can't do everything to the expectation that you want to. So really asking yourself, how important is it that I get this thing done? And with what level of, amazingness does it really need? I've been wanting to redo my office, which some of you have noticed I did. Woo! I've been wanting to redo it since we moved into this house, and we've lived here for over a year now. And it was pretty much after hearing this quote that if you want, to do something, you can do it not well too. Sorry, I'm butchering the quote. If something's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly. As soon as I, really let that sink in, I came into my office and I tore down the pink wallpaper that was there from when we moved in. And I decided to just allow myself to work on fixing up my office as slowly as I needed to. Because I'm someone who not only has a hard time, managing my expectations, but I also have a hard time when I start a project, not just throwing my entire self into that project. And so working on my office was a really cool exercise for me in breaking my perfectionist expectations, and also trying to monitor my kind of overzealous, attitude toward whatever project I'm working on. And one thing that helped me was when I would go to work on here, whether it was with tearing wallpaper down or painting or scraping things or, whatever, I would tell myself okay, I'm going to work on whatever I'm doing from this time to this time. And giving myself a stopping point was super important. And if you struggle with perfectionism, you have to give yourself a stopping point, or you will just burn yourself out until you are just too exhausted to continue. And it's not healthy, and it will make you resent life instead of enjoying it. And for those of you who might be perfectionists like me, you might be thinking okay, I'll set a timer, but there's no way I'm gonna be able to get myself to follow it. And that's where you have to kind of wrestle with yourself. No, I'm really not gonna work on this thing more than this amount of time, because that is just what's healthier for you. And if it's, for me, it was a very compulsive battle. My perfectionist tendencies are not just something that are very easy to overcome. They are very intense, and it feels very compulsive for me. It's really hard for me to stop in the middle of a project. But the more I do it, the easier it gets. And the exciting thing about it is that then I actually feel way more capable of tackling bigger and more intense and exciting projects, because I know that I can maintain, the rest of my life while I'm still working on this thing, and I can take my time with it. I did a really pretty good job of taking my time with putting my office together, and also with being okay with mistakes. If you look close, you're going to see, paint smudges and things like that. And I took some time to clean up some mistakes, and then I decided to just settle with other mistakes. And I'm really proud of myself. And it's interesting too, as a side note, that some of my friends were like, oh, your office is so cute. Why would you change it? And I was like, it is cute, but it's not me. It just isn't. And I was really, I don't know, I was just really excited to take ownership and to really make it mine, and to surround it with things that I love that are very me. And it felt, I don't know, just really congruent with my journey of feeling like I'm figuring out who I am and moving on with my life and establishing better habits and healthier relationships. And it all just kind of converged together. And now I love my office, and I love when I come and shoot videos and see how cool my background looks. I actually designed that. and painted that on the wall. Really proud of it. And it was a lot of hard work. But what helped me to get to that point was to accept that my office was not going to look exactly the way I wanted it to, and to accept that that I needed to take my time with it and be patient and allow it, to not totally encompass my life. It's funny, as another side note, my perfectionist brain also always wants someone else to make decisions. So it was really hard for me, choosing paint colors and design elements and stuff, because I was I don't know what's gonna look good, And then I was just okay, but Morgan, it's just your preference, And I was but my preference is not, I don't know, not good enough or something. I just can't, I don't know well enough, what paint colors, look good together, and what kind of sheen and texture and all that with paint. I just don't know. And, I was trying to decide, how to do, where to put, a white wall, if I was going to do a white wall and stuff like that. And I was, really stressed about making the decisions, and I had to, literally, talk to myself down from freaking out in my brain and be Morgan, this is just your preference. This is not a catastrophe. This is not a big deal. And guess what? If you don't like the way it looks, you can paint it again. And I was, it was a big, I don't know, learning moment for me to remind myself, because I still have that kind of Mormonism, authority figure problem, where I feel even when something designing my office is entirely my decision, I still want to offload it to someone else. So I wasn't letting myself ask other people's opinions when it came down to the final decisions, because I was no, Morgan, this is your office. You have to decide. You can't rely on someone else to design your office. And not that you can't ever consult people, but I kind of treated it like a learning thing for me to just let it be mine. And if it looked bad, to let that be my mistake and to correct it myself, Anyway, my office did not turn out perfect, but I'm so proud of the effort that I put into it, and so happy with how it turned out, and so glad that this dark paint color did not look terrible, because I was really worried about that. Yeah, I think it helped me feel pretty confident in myself, which was cool. Anyway, just wanted to hit you guys with those tips, because it is hard dealing with perfectionist tendencies, and I think it's really common when you grow up in a high demand religion to fall into that trap of I can't make my own decisions, and I need to procrastinate because I don't want to fail, and I don't want to look stupid, and I have way too high of expectations. And so things that have been helping me, like I said, again, as a recap, manage your expectations. How well does this thing need to be done? How quickly does this thing actually need to be done? And, would it be okay for this thing to be done not so well? Would that be better than nothing? And I think in many cases, it's possible that that is just what it's going to be. Otherwise, you're just going to keep putting it off. Because sometimes we're only capable of doing things poorly, and that's okay. Thank you guys for watching this video. Forgive me for any tech issues that this video brought up. I just got a brand new camera thanks to our Patreon supporters. I have been recording videos on a broken old cell phone for over 3 years now, and I am so glad that that is not the case anymore. So huge thanks to our Patreon supporters. Forgive any tech issues, as I'm still working through that, and thanks for watching this video. See you guys later.